Good evening, friends. I'm very happy to introduce our today's speaker in our first meeting of the new year. We have Captain Nitin Joshi with us. Welcome, Captain Joshi.
Thank you.
Uh,
Thank you.
Captain Joshi is from my battalion only. That means we are both from 10th Battalion, Sikh Light Infantry. So that is the closest relations we have. Captain Joshi has served in the army and has more than 20 years of work experience in varied work areas like the Indian Army he worked, then education, hospitality sector. In all these work areas and places, training has been an integral part of his work. He realized that irrespective of the work, there are a few basics of training which remain the same everywhere. So also realize that training is his passion. Training a person and observing the positive impact it has on the person's work, performance, and the life gives a different level of satisfaction altogether. In 2016, he decided to turn his passion into profession uh, in the form of his company, that is Wisdom Mind. He operates from Pune. His areas of specialization are communication skill, public speaking, leadership, business communication, presentation skills, grooming, team building, and managing teams, effective employee engagement, resume making, group discussion, and personal interview, that is GDPI, and also some of the areas in which he has conducted training in corporate sector. These are the areas in which he has conducted. And Captain Nitin has a hands-on style of training that involves participation of audience and activities. He also likes to use storytelling to make training more interesting, army way of training. Nitin's strength, which makes him a good trainer, are his sense of humor, his ability to connect with the people from a wide range of background, and his ability to grasp any topic fast. In addition, Nitin is also good communicator. Nitin believes in uh, tailor making and delivering each training session as per the client's specialization and a continuous feedback process. He's a good orator, public speaker. Now, education qualification wise, he's done a hotel management diploma from Bombay Review College. Then he has a post graduation in different strategic studies from Pune University. He's a NLP practitioner, certified American Board of Neuro Linguistics, then certified emotional intelligence for learning conclave. That is the area he's going to touch upon today. He's a certified and then he's a certified basic counselor. He has written books also. So we have such a knowledgeable and learned speaker with us, and I'm thankful to him that he accepted our invitation and he's going to give us. So I request now Captain Nitin Joshi to take on. Thank you.
Okay. A very good evening. I hope I am audible to everyone. Okay. First of all, I'm sorry for the slight delay in joining you. I think there was some technical issue, but it has been sorted out now. And thank you very much for this opportunity. And it gives me great pleasure to be here with all of you. And as Sir said, that today I'll be talking to you a little bit about emotional intelligence and its use in leadership. Now, emotional intelligence in itself is a very vast topic, and it has a wide applications and wide areas of ramifications. But today I am going to touch upon those aspects of emotional intelligence that are specifically relevant to a leadership role. Something that any person who is in a leadership role should know about emotional intelligence for oneself as well as for the team that he or she is leading. So with that in mind, I would like to quickly get on to the topic at hand. So let me just share my screen with all of you. Yeah. So there, I hope you all can see my screen and the PPT that I'm sharing on the screen right now. Okay. So, right. So this is about emotional intelligence in leadership. And as I have already mentioned that emotional intelligence in itself is a very big topic, but today we'll be talking about some aspects that are specific to its use and applications in leadership. So emotional intelligence and I'm sure many of you must have already heard about this topic before. Emotional intelligence, also known as emotional quotient, it is a key to success. It is more important than intelligence quotient. Traditionally, we have always only focused upon the what is known as the intelligence quotient or the intelligence of a person. Okay, whenever we are trying to employ a person or give any person any role, we look at that person's qualifications, we look at the person's experience. But it has now become clear to many people, and there is an acknowledgement around the world that emotional intelligence or emotional quotient is much more important. And studies have shown that companies which follow this, they are much more productive than companies that stick only to IQ. But what is emotional intelligence? So emotional intelligence, basically, as the name suggests, is intelligence about your own emotions. That is, to be aware of your own emotions, to be aware of the effect that these emotions have on you, and to be in control of emotions. Okay, many of us are controlled by our emotions. Many of us, and I'm sure this is some experience that all of us must have had at some point of time or the other, that in a situation we react or we behave in an impulsive manner, and then later on, we feel bad that why did I behave like that? Maybe I should have behaved differently. So that is what it means to be aware of your emotions, to be aware of what causes these emotions, and to be in control of them. And once, as a leader, you are aware of your own emotions and you are in control of your own emotions, you are in a much better position to understand the emotions of other people and to guide them and to empathize with them. So this is, to sum it up, emotional intelligence is about self and about others, and it is mainly about awareness and management. So self-awareness is to be aware of yourself, to be aware of your own emotions and how they make you act, then to be in control of these emotions. So once you are aware of them, you are able to control them, and then also knowing others, to be socially aware of what drives other people and managing relationships with them. So as a leader, whenever you're in a leadership role anywhere, it is very, very important for you to know your team members. Only then you can be an effective leader. But when you say knowing your team members or being aware of what your team members are, we normally talk about knowing about their qualifications, knowing about their experience, knowing about their strengths and weaknesses. It is equally to know about what drives them or what are their emotions, or which one of your team members is an emotional person, which one is driven by emotions. Once we know this, it puts us in a much better position to uh, control them or to lead them. This is not to say that we should condone or accept any action just because it is driven by emotions. The point is, knowing it will help us to control it better. Right. Also, emotions tell us a lot about, they give us a lot of information. Okay. When we, as I mentioned before, that knowing your team members or knowing yourself, it's a very, very important part of leadership. But normally, traditionally, when we talk about information or when we talk about knowing a person or when we talk about knowing ourselves, we only mainly talk about, experience and qualifications and skills and strengths and weaknesses. But I'm sure many of you must have said this at some point of time or the other, that I myself don't know how I will react. Or you must have said about another person that this person is highly unpredictable. I can't say how this person will react in a situation. The reason is because there is one chunk of information that is missing, and that is the information that we get from understanding and studying the emotions of a person. Okay, so when you get this information or this data that is provided to you through emotional intelligence, you can understand yourself and you can understand the other person much better, right? Because our emotions, as we human beings, as we grow up, especially when we are small in an impressionable age, we undergo a lot of influences in our childhood, and these influences have a very strong bearing on our emotions. Okay, going ahead, I will talk a little bit about triggers. What are the triggers that initiate emotions in our mind? So when you understand this, you understand the reasons behind a person's actions. So a little bit about the structure of our human brain. Okay, if you see, the human brain is mainly in three layers. If you see the innermost, if you can see the image of the human brain in front of you, the innermost layer, which is in white color, is a reptilian brain. This is a leftover from our most ancient ancestors, when human beings had just evolved from primates, and our most earliest ancestors who were anything close to human beings were staying on trees and staying in open lands, and when there was danger all around us, and when they had to be absolutely primed for survival, and when they had to be absolutely alert at all the times. Okay, that is when this reptilian brain or the basic brain evolved. And even today, we still have this reptilian brain. And on many occasions, it is this brain that takes over. So whenever you see a person behaving in an aggressive manner, or a person getting defensive about anything, or any person who is, you feel the person is overreacting to a certain situation, understand that it is this part of the brain, the reptilian brain, that has taken over. Okay, which is primed towards survival, which is primed towards understanding any possible danger in the environment and reacting towards it. Above that is the limbic brain, which is also known as our emotional brain, the brain that processes our emotions, processes our thoughts. And on the top is the neocortex, which is our mammalian brain, which is the thinking brain, which is what makes us human beings. All our processing of scientific knowledge and artistic knowledge and our creativity, everything happens from there. So whenever you are in a situation where you are very angry, or some person is very angry, we are always told this since our childhood, that don't react immediately, right? Don't react immediately, don't react, don't talk back immediately, don't answer immediately. Why? Because in that situation, the basic thing is, it is your reptilian brain that has taken you over. And whatever you do from this brain will always be primed towards survival. It may not be very logical in that situation. Or we are told that whenever you get angry, before you answer, count up till 10. Why? So when you count up till 10, you are basically shifting your thinking from your reptilian brain to a higher brain, to your neocortex, which is your logical brain. So you're activating your neocortex, you're activating your higher brain, so that whatever answer you give or whatever reaction you give to that situation does not come from a place of your, an instinct for survival, right? Now, the reptilian brain, if you see this, the red spot in the brain, this is known as amygdala. It's a part of the brain which is the size of a thumb. And whenever we sense any danger, whenever we sense any situation in which we feel that our survival is threatened, it is the amygdala that kicks in and the reptilian brain takes over. And all the higher brains, our logical thinking, shuts down. And that is when a person typically overreacts or gives a very angry reaction, or when we say, ये इतना overreact क्यों हो रहा है, और we say, we typically commonly use कि ये hyper क्यों हो रहा है, तो hyper इसीलिए हो रहा है because the amygdala has taken over, all right? And as you know that when survival is at stake, or when a person feels that survival is at stake, that time nothing else matters, that time only survival matters. For us, looking at the situation from outside, we may be able to understand that this person's survival is not at threat, but for that person in that situation, there is something that has triggered this survival instinct, and that's why the person is behaving like that. So this is one thing we have to understand. Whenever we see a person who is overreacting in any situation, know it that somewhere in the subconscious, somewhere deep down, that person feels some kind of a threat to the survival. That's why the person is behaving the way he or she is behaving. This is known as amygdala hijack. Okay, and when survival is at stake, everything shuts down. Typically, if you see any country or any society which is war torn, which is, where people are dying and, bombs are falling every day, from that society, from that part of the world, you won't find any creative things coming out, because everybody is, running towards survival. A society which is well settled, where everybody is secure with their jobs, secure with they have a food security, that is when their higher brain is allowed to function without any hindrance. And from that kind of a society, some or the other productive and creative work comes out, right? So the first step to emotional intelligence is knowing yourself. Okay, before we start knowing others, we have to start knowing ourselves, and this becomes all the more important when you are in a leadership role, right? And typically, one very interesting exercise which I do with many of my students in my training is I ask them to get up and talk about themselves. The only rider is, you cannot include any information that is given in your resume. Okay, our resume consists of all the factual information about us: our date of birth, education qualification, work experience, hobbies, likes and dislikes, and all these things. Take all that information away and only talk about yourself as a person for 2 minutes, okay, without referring to anything that is mentioned in your resume. Please try this. Please try this, and you'll be surprised. It is very interesting to know. And most of us, we struggle with it because we don't know ourselves. We don't spend enough time knowing ourselves. And if we have to understand others, the first step is to know ourselves. So emotional intelligence starts with the self, and we must, every one of us must spend time in self-reflection. Get to know yourself. Okay, that is to say, and when we do this exercise, it is not something that you do it only once and you leave it. It has to be a continuous process. It has to be, you can use a journal, you can write down, you can maintain a record about it, just to, and it's a progressive thing. So write down and be very honest with yourself when you're doing this. What do you feel and when? What are your typical feelings? Okay, when you have nothing else to do, what is it that is on the top of your mind? What are you feeling? What are your thoughts? How do these thoughts make you feel? Put a name to it: angry, depressed, sad, anxious. Okay, and do this over a period of time. You understand what are your primary driving instincts and emotions. What are your values? What do you feel about those values? How did you come about those values? And what is the importance of your values in your life? What is your purpose? Okay, because these things are very closely interlinked: your feelings, your driving emotions, your values, and the purpose for which you live and you work. Okay, then of course, what are your skills? What is your work style? Now, work style means, are you a hands-on kind of a work person, or you prefer to delegate jobs to others, or you're a lone ranger, or you like to work in a team? Okay, so what is your work style, and what is your leadership style? Are you a hands-on leader, or you give power to your subordinates, you make them work, you support them? What is your leadership style? And again, I will reiterate, this is not an exercise that you do just once. It is something that has to be progressive. It is a very important part of self-understanding, right? That will give you an insight into what you are, right? So identify your own emotions. So, as a progressive part of this, when you're doing this, identify your own emotions. Okay, put a name on your emotions and your feelings. That, okay, this makes me feel angry, this makes me feel good, or I'm anxious about the future, or I'm hopeful about the future. Which emotion do you feel? When do you feel it? And how does it make you feel? Okay, and feel your feelings, acknowledge them. Traditionally, in our society, especially men, okay, we are always told that you're not supposed to be emotional, you're not supposed to feel your emotions. No, that's not a very good way. You keep things bottled up inside you. It shows, somewhere or the other, the thing is going to come out in an explosive manner. So feel your feelings, acknowledge them. It is very important that we take time out for ourselves, and we take time out, which is known as me time, alone time. When you just sit, it may be for 10 minutes, 15 minutes a day, but you just sit and you think about yourself, think about your own feelings, think about your own emotions, acknowledge them, that yes, those emotions are there, and express them appropriately. So when I say express them appropriately, it basically means that uh, you can either talk to a very near and dear one, to a very trusted person. You can express it in the form of writing, you can express it in the form of poetry, or something that is creative, and identify the source of these emotions. Okay, that what exactly led to this kind of an emotion in my mind. Was it one traumatic experience? Was it a series of experiences, or was it a very good experience that makes me feel good? So it is all about acknowledging your own feelings and emotions. Don't be shy to acknowledge that you have certain feelings and certain emotions. And again, I will say that this is something more true about men. Men are told to be, we are told, be a man, don't be emotional, so don't deny your feelings. They are there, and whether you like it or not, they are driving a lot of your actions. So if you have to control your actions better, you have to acknowledge your feelings, you have to acknowledge your emotions and feel them. Okay, and you have to feel them. Okay, so once you have done that, you are in a much better position to control yourself. Okay, typically, now again, a situation that we all must have seen or been a part of. When somebody knows that you get triggered by something, when somebody knows that you get worked up by something, that person will try to control you and manipulate you. Whenever you are around, that person will, deliberately take out that topic to make you behave in a certain way, to provoke a reaction from you. But once you know that, yes, a certain topic provokes a certain kind of reaction in me, you are in a much better position to control yourself. Understand your triggers. What are the triggers? A trigger is something that provokes or activates a certain kind of reaction in you. Okay, just to give you an example, if you hear a certain piece of music, you become nostalgic. You go back into a time when you heard that music for the first time, because that must have been a very special time for you. You can actually feel the presence of the same people around you. Okay, that is a trigger. That music has triggered off some good reaction in you. uh, Typically when we smell certain perfume, we immediately start thinking about the person, who used to use that perfume, because that person may have been very special for us. This is a trigger. This is an example of a trigger. Anything that activates some kind of a strong emotion in you is a trigger. So when you identify your own triggers, you also identify the triggers in others. Okay, so typically, as I said earlier, whenever you see a person behaving in a very violent and a defensive manner in any situation, or whenever we say that this person is overreacting or this person is becoming hyper, understand that there is something in the situation that has acted as a trigger. Okay, that person may have had some bad experience or maybe a series of bad experiences in their life, and some word or some action or something said by someone has acted as a trigger for that person. You may not be able to see that trigger, but when you identify triggers in yourself, you know that yes, there is something in this person that has activated that trigger. Last but not the least, a very important part of knowing yourself is self-care. Okay, so first, when you understand your triggers, then you are able to manage your triggers. So when you know that you are in a certain situation, or you are going to be in a situation where something might possibly trigger or something might act as a trigger, awareness is the first step to dealing with it. So now you're prepared. You know that there is going to be something which will act as a trigger. I don't have to react impulsively, I don't have to react aggressively. Maybe if I can get myself out of that situation, physically remove myself from there, or create a time and distance between myself and the possible trigger, I will not behave in an emotional manner. Okay, because normally when you behave in an emotional manner and when you allow something to trigger your emotions, you take an impulsive decision or you say something, and that, in the end, you end up regretting it. Okay, that happens to almost all of us. We all have been in that situation where we have said something or done something in an impulsive manner and regretted later. So understand your triggers, right? And there are many people who are these manipulating kind of people. They are very good at understanding triggers. They will observe you, they will know what your trigger is, and they will just use that trigger at the right time. But when you become aware of your own triggers, you take the power away from them. So manage your triggers. Okay, either if needed, take some kind of a professional help, take therapy to get rid of them. Because a trigger is an association that has been formed in your brain. Okay, a certain thing is associated with a certain situation that provokes a reaction. So you might like to take some kind of a help from a professional who can help you to break that association with that trigger, right? Last but not the least, self-care. Okay, and typically whenever we become busy with our work, this is the first thing that gets sacrificed: self-care. Okay, almost to the point that we feel guilty about taking care of ourselves, right? But it is very important, and I would go a step ahead and say it is everybody's duty to take care of oneself. As a leader, as a professional, or even as a family person, it is not only important for us, I think it is compulsory, it is imperative that we take care of ourselves. It is only then that we will be able to give our best in any environment, at work or at home. So take time out for yourself. Okay, take care of yourself, take appropriate rest, engage in a hobby. Okay, that helps you to direct your emotions more productively. So once you have understood your emotions, once you have acknowledged your emotions, once you have felt your emotions, and once you have understood your triggers, then take care of yourself. You will be in a much better position to control yourself. Normally, a person who gets hyper, or normally a person who gets controlled by one's emotions and manipulated by others, is a person who is stressed out, a person who has not had adequate amount of rest, a person who has not taken care of oneself, a person who is suffering from some kind of physical ailment, or a person who doesn't have any way of channelizing one's emotions. And your hobbies, your likes, these are very good ways of channelizing your emotions. So self-care. So this is about understanding and managing yourself. Once you do that, you are in a much better position to understand and manage others, and this makes you a much better leader. We all have worked in different places at different times, and we all have had leaders, whom we have looked up to. When we were very junior, when we were in the initial stages of our professional lives, we all have had seniors. Now look back, think about a senior or a leader whom you have liked, and you will find these qualities in that person. You will find the person was self-controlled. You will find that person was not impulsive. You will find the person was in perfect control of one's own triggers, and that's why the person could be a good leader. Okay, so that is what you have to do to yourself, right? Then understanding others. So once you have zeroed down upon your own top values, find out the values of your colleagues. That's very important. Find out the values of your colleagues or your team members. Engage in uh, informal communication with them. Talk to them. Don't assume. Ask them. I was just thinking about my values. What are your values? What is your vision? What is your purpose? Just it doesn't have to be like a formal interview. It can be a very nice casual chat. You understand others, right? I always advise people, especially in companies. I always say that as a team leader, maybe once in a month, take your team out for an outing. Take them out for a, after work. Take them out for a coffee. Take them out for dinner, maybe in a very informal environment where you sit and talk to them. This is where people open up, and this is where people show their emotions. In workplace, we are all very formal, very rigid, but when you take them out, this is where you understand people. This is where you understand what drives them. Ask them their likes and dislikes. Ask them what their favorite movie is. Ask them why they like that movie, what the favorite book is. You get a very good piece of information into the mind of that person. You understand how this person acts, how this person reacts, or as we say, what makes this person tick. Okay. Once you do that, you get very valuable information on what kind of a role you can give to this person, or what this person's abilities are, what the person's strengths are, and why this person acts the way he or she acts. Especially, I will advise you, if there is a particularly troublesome person in your team who always fights with others, quarrels with others, one day just find a good time and take the person out for a casual chat, maybe over a cup of coffee or something like that. Develop a rapport. When that person opens up, believe me, in at least 99% of the cases, you will find that there is something that has troubled the person. Either the person doesn't have someone to open up to, either the person doesn't have anyone to love or take care, or there has been some kind of a traumatic experience. That person is carrying a sense of guilt, and it always there. All negative emotions, all negative behavior stems from there. But you have to understand that person, right? Understand how we humans are wired. We humans are wired for survival. Our most basic instinct is that of survival. So in any situation, if a person feels threatened, now threatened doesn't mean only physically threatened. If a person feels that a particular situation is going to threaten his job security, if a particular person feels that a particular situation, that person feels that, I might get insulted or laughed at, or if the person feels that my importance might come down, the survival instinct kicks in. That's why I again go back to what I earlier said, that whenever you see a person overreacting in a certain situation or behaving in an unreasonable manner, or as we say, getting hyper, okay, understand this. The person's survival instinct has been triggered. There has been something in the environment which you may not understand immediately, but for that person, it represents some kind of a threat. Okay. So firstly, we are wired for survival. Secondly, we are wired to belong. We all want to belong. Okay. We all want to be acknowledged and accepted as a part of a group. Nobody wants to be left out. Nobody wants, that everybody is getting together and having fun and I am being left out, or everybody is being given some work and I have been not given any work. We feel left out. Okay. So again, whenever you have a new member in your team or a new person joining you, make sure that you create this sense of belonging and this inclusiveness. And when both these things are taken care of, when the survival is taken care of, when there is no fear of any threat to survival, and when the belonging is being taken care of, when the person knows that, yes, I belong to this group, okay, everybody has accepted me, we are friends, that is when the third thing, wired to become our best self, comes into play. Okay. So when these things are taken care of, so make sure that whenever you are in a leadership position anywhere, make sure that you are providing this for your team. And again, I would say, look back to a time when you were not a leader, when we all have, been a part of a team, and when there has been a leader above us. Didn't we want this? We all wanted this, right? We wanted a sense of survival. Sense of survival means not necessarily a physical threat, but sense of survival means job security, sense of survival means financial security, sense of survival means getting respect, right? And then we all needed to be belonged. We all needed to know that yes, we are a part of this group. This group has accepted me, and I'm very much a part of this group. When these things were taken care of, then we are able to give our best. But when these two things are threatened, survival is threatened, sense of belonging is not there, you feel that you're not included, that is when we cannot really give our best, right? Once this is done, extend empathy to the other person. Now, empathy does not mean that you start feeling the same emotions that the other person is feeling. That is not practically possible and not practically advisable, because the other person would be feeling a lot of emotions. And if you start feeling all of them, you go crazy, right? Empathy simply means you understand why the person feels the way he or she does. So firstly, you have understood yourself, you have understood that you have triggers, you have understood that you have emotions, you, you extend that understanding to other people, you know that the other person also has feelings and emotions, you understand that the other person also has possible triggers to their emotions, and then you understand them. I will again reiterate, understanding does not mean accepting or condoning any behavior that is wrong. Understanding simply means you know why the person is behaving that way, and you're in a better position to prevent that behavior if it is wrong, and to maybe repeat that behavior if it is right. So extend empathy to the other people. Okay. Create an environment of safety and inclusion. Now, you will all have to judge for yourself, you know, in whatever position of leadership you are, how, what is the kind of safety or what is the kind of security that your team members need. It is physical safety. In some environments, it's a question of physical safety, right? That is our most basic desire. We want physical safety. Then there is job safety. Okay. And last but not the least, there is psychological safety. A person needs to be trusted, a person needs to be respected, and a person needs to be included. Okay. So when you create this thing, when you create these factors in your team, and when you assure your team members that yes, you are physically safe over here, your job is safe, and we trust you and respect you, that is when you can expect them to start, you know, giving their best. So create an environment, and for this again there are so many different ways. You know, you can either have an open chat or a conversation with them, ask them what is it that makes them anxious, what is it that makes them feel insecure about the environment, what is it that they would like to be done better, how we can include them. That is of course, I leave it to you. You know, that is something which you have to do on a case by case basis to understand your team and your work environment, right? So facilitate your teams. Okay, first of all, once you have taken care of their safety, once you have created a safe environment for them, give them a sense of purpose. What exactly is their purpose? Please understand that we humans need to be driven. Okay, uh, you people can either come to their place of work every day, work and go back. But if you really want to get the best out of them, you have to give them a sense of purpose. Okay, share your vision and mission with them. That yes, we have to make this the best company. We have to make this the top company, or we have to double our income. You know, give them a sense of purpose and drive them. And once you have created a safety, once you have given them a sense of purpose and a sense of belonging, then you will see it will create wonders, and that is when they will give their peak performance. Okay, so you started off by understanding yourself, then you start off by understanding others, understand each and every team member in your team, and then you facilitate them, then you start building them up. Okay? This is one thing that you know, we even do in the army, that a new person coming into the team, we do something known as regimentation. Okay, so that the person knows that yes, I belong to something much bigger than me. I belong to something that has a very glorious history and a tradition, and I'm a part of it. And these are all my brothers. You know, we are a band of brothers. They are all there for me, all for one, one for all. That is when the person is driven to commit acts of valor and, you know, even give one's own life if required. Why? Because the person feels that yes, I'm a part of this environment. These are all my brothers around me, and I have a purpose that is much higher than me. So this is what you can do in your workplaces. Create safety, create a sense of purpose, a purpose that drives them, and a sense of belonging. That is when you get peak performance out of your team members. One very important factor, whenever you're doing any kind of a change in your work environment, creating any kind of a change in your work environment, humans resist change. Why do humans resist change? Or, you know, even progress is change. Change does not necessarily mean that it's only a bad change. Sometimes change can mean even progress. Sometimes change can mean moving into a bigger office. Sometimes change can mean promotion. Okay. Subconsciously, humans are wired to resist a change, okay, or at least those changes that we are not immediately positive about. Why? Because again, a change of environment or a change of working conditions again means for many people some kind of a survival threat, because we are normally very comfortable in our comfort zones. We are very comfortable doing the kind of work that we are doing, and then when suddenly some things have to change, subconsciously survival is threatened. So address the safety concerns while making a change, right? So whenever there is some change happening in the company, understand that at least a few members of your team will have some kind of safety concerns. Typically that's what happens, right? Whenever there is a change in the company, a change of top management, a change of policy, people ask these questions. Is my job safe? Is my income safe? Okay, am I going to get demoted, or will I have the same amount of respect and seniority? So address these concerns. Once these concerns are addressed, you will find that all resistance to change comes down. So whenever you want to start a new initiative in your workplace or with your team, make sure that you address these concerns and be sure that these concerns will be there. The team may or may not speak out, but these concerns are there in the team. Okay. Of course, inspirational leadership. So leadership is all about inspiring your team. Okay. So share your passion and vision with your team. I have already said this, that humans need a passion. Okay. Doing the same routine work every day in the same manner does not really drive them to peak performance. Share your passion, share your vision. Okay. And walk the talk. That goes without saying. As a leader, you cannot just ask people to do a work. You have to walk the talk. You have to show through your actions that you mean what you say. I will again go back to what I said. We all have had leaders whom we look up to. We all have had great leaders. They have always walked the talk. Okay. They have not just been sitting around and asking you to go and do things. They are the leaders who have led from a front. Okay. So walk the talk and you will earn unquestioned respect of your team. And of course, leadership is a practice, not a position, which basically means that you have to walk the talk and you have to, inspire your people. Once you have done that, I think it's very important that you also develop emotional intelligence in others. As a leader at any level, a part of our job, a part of our obligation, a part of our duty is developing our team members, developing them not just in terms of their skills, developing them not just in terms of their knowledge, but also developing them in terms of emotional intelligence. So make sure that you make them aware of emotional intelligence, let them know what emotional intelligence is, how you have been using it, how it has benefited you, how it has benefited the team, and make sure that they also take up this mantle of emotional intelligence ahead of you. Identify the areas and the people who need to be addressed in this way, make a plan, and focus on it. That's all from my side. Thank you very much. I'm open to any questions.
The learning in army, as we say, the leadership best practice in the army.
Sir.
What kind of modifications are required when you bring it to the corporate sector?
Sir, in the army, I mean, those of us who have been in the army, we know that in army, there is something known as a military law, and where unquestioned obedience has to be given. Okay, because the nature of work is such, it requires that. I think whatever interaction I've had with the corporates in the recent past, one thing I understand is that the decision making has to be more inclusive, and there has to be more room for taking inputs from your team members, because basically this way you are valuing that person's opinion. That doesn't mean that every opinion or every suggestion that comes to you has to be acted upon, but the very fact that you're taking somebody's input shows that yes, I value you, I respect you. So that is, I think, one very important changeover that we need to make, while applying it to the corporate. Having said that, yes, once a decision is taken, and the final prerogative is always of the leader, once everybody's input is taken and the decision is taken, then you have to stick to it and go according to it.
Right. Question.
Anybody?
Ask. No problem.
Yeah, Mr.
Yes.
Rajendra Pandit,
Yes, sir.
please unmute yourself. Mr. Rajendra Pandit, please unmute yourself.
पंडित साहब आपको अनम्यूट करना होगा पहले. प्लीज अनम्यूट योरसेल्फ.
Then only पता चलेगा.
राजेंद्र जी आप म्यूट पे हैं, आपकी आवाज सुनाई नहीं दे रही है. प्लीज अनम्यूट कीजिए.
Yeah.
Hello.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sure.
now we can hear.
Yes.
Captain, is it possible to share your PPT?
Yes, it is possible to share my PPT.
Because we cannot note down all the points. They are really marvelous thing you have told,
Thank you.
which we can share with our team also.
This session is also recorded. We can share the recording of this session as well.
Thank you.
I can definitely share my PPT with you. And as I said, emotional intelligence is in itself is a very big topic. But what we have touched upon today is a small aspect of it with respect to leadership. But I can definitely share your PPT. Share the PPT. Sorry, my PPT.
Yeah. Thank you.
Question from my end, Captain Nitin Joshi.
Yes, sir.
If there is in a corporate a debate between the two managers or say two vice presidents in front of a CEO saying one is the 6, one is looking the agenda as a 6, another is looking at it as a 9. So how this can be ended, or what is the solution to it?
Okay. So they are both looking at the same digit from two different sides. One is looking at it as a 6, one is looking at it as a 9. I think it has to be very contextual, you know. In a certain context it is 6, in a certain context it is 9. So आप context को देखो क्या है, उस context में 6 ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है या 9 ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है, और what is ज़रूरी से भी ज़्यादा I would say कि क्या appropriate है, क्या correct है, factually correct क्या है, you know, whatever is supported by facts and figures, we have to go with it, you know. कंपनी के लिए क्या जरूरी है और फैक्ट्स किसको सपोर्ट करते हैं, you have to go by that.
Okay, thank you.
Captain Nitin, do you remember having come to Reliance Infrastructure some 3 years back?
Sir, where is your office?
So this was in Reliance Energy Management Institute at JPLR in the night when there was a award function. Ashish Banerjee was the CEO.
Yes, now I remember.
You and I were sitting next to each other, and
Yes, sir. I remember.
There were some bombshells which happened that evening. I'll not get into that, but I just thought of reminding you when you talk about leadership and emotional intelligence.
Yeah. Very nice. Yes. Any other?
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Hello. Yes.
Yeah, good evening. I'm Dr. Mahesh here.
Sir.
And indeed, it's a quite enlightening talk. I will just add one point, since many of it you have already elaborated. This emotional EQ is not there only for the workplace. It should be there very much in the family also, particularly in our children.
Yes, sir.
Even if they have less IQ, they can survive in the competitive world. But without perfect or stable EQ, it would be very difficult for anyone.
Actually, sir.
Very interesting. Sir. Thank you for the talk, sir.
Most welcome, sir. It's my pleasure. And just to take ahead of what you said, you know, even if you see, not only as you mentioned in our work environment, even in our homes, if a person is a genius or very, very skilled or very, very, you know, talented at something, but the person is an arrogant person, a rude person, a very egoistic person, we normally don't want to associate with that person. On the other hand, a person, again, in the workplace or in our day-to-day lives might be a mediocre person, but is a nice person, you know, empathizes with you, gets along well, and, you know, makes an effort to connect with all of you, gives respect. We want to be with that person. So that is what, you know, ultimately determines. And yes, very important that I always say that these topics should be a part of our school curriculum. You know, we should teach us from a very young age about these things. But at least now we can do it at home with our kids, if not in
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Just a little off the line question. Does pranayama and these things really helps in self-awareness?
Sir, my experience has been that meditation really helps.
It helps, yes.
It helps. It helps. Only thing is, like any other thing, it has to be consistent.
Okay.
I know of many people who tried for a few days, but then they give it away. It is not an instant gratification. It is,
Okay.
and of course there are many different ways of meditation out there. So choose which is the best one for you, which works best for you. Meditation doesn't mean that you have to sit in a certain posture and chant some mantras or something. Meditation is basically anything that focuses your attention in the here and now, in this moment, what we call mindfulness.
Self-realization.
Self-realization. So something that
Yes.
helps you to focus your attention in the present moment, focus your attention on your own body, on your own thoughts. So it can be anything. It can be, you can be sitting with your eyes closed, you can be sitting with your eyes open, you can be sitting in the morning with your cup of tea, in perfect darkness, early morning or late night when everyone has gone off to sleep, or maybe even in the afternoon. So that is, to each one his or her own. But yes, coming to the point, meditation of any kind definitely helps. It helps you to understand yourself much better.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
हाँ सुनील कुमार here.
Yes, sir.
हाँ सर, कभी कभी ऐसा होता है कि अपने दिमाग बोलता है ये करना चाहिए और हार्ट बोलता है ये करना चाहिए, तो उस सिचुएशन में क्या जजमेंट लेना चाहिए?
दिमाग बोलता है ये करना है, हार्ट बोलता है ये करना है। सर, दो तीन चीजें मैं आपको बता सकता हूँ। एक तो है कि राइट डाउन थिंग्स, राइटिंग थिंग्स डाउन। आप जब कागज पे लिखते हैं किसी चीज को, होता क्या है, जब अपने दिमाग में कोई टॉपिक होता है, दिमाग में हजारों थॉट्स होते हैं, तो उन थॉट्स के बीच में अपने ये थॉट्स कहीं जंबल हो जाते हैं, तो आप उसको कागज पे लिखिए, कॉलम बनाइए, एक तरफ लिखिए दिमाग क्या बोल रहा है, एक तरफ बोलिए दिल क्या बोल रहा है, और दोनों को कंपेयर कीजिए। और अगर ये भी काम ना करे, और या ये करने के बाद अगर आपको लगता है कि मेरे को अभी भी डिसीजन नहीं मैं ले पा रहा हूं, तो सिंपल सी चीज कीजिए सर, टॉस कीजिए, कॉइन लीजिए, बोलिए हेड्स तो दिमाग, टेल्स तो टंग, टॉस कीजिए। आपका जो अंदर से आपका जो गट फीलिंग होगा ना, वो इमीडिएटली बाहर आएगा।
ओके, थैंक यू वेरी मच।
लेकिन राइटिंग इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट सर। नाउ दैट
मतलब लिखना चाहिए,
क्योंकि देखिए एक एवरेज इंसान के दिमाग में रोज 60 to 70,000 विचार आते हैं। उतने सारे वो विचारों के जंबल में अपना ये थॉट कहीं ना कहीं जंबल हो जाता है। आप जब उसको लिखते हैं तो आप उसको दिमाग से निकाल के कागज पे डालते हैं, एक क्लैरिटी आती है आपको। सो राइट डाउन विद फैक्ट्स एंड फिगर्स, राइट डाउन, देन यू आर इन अ मच बेटर पोजीशन टू टेक अ प्रॉपर डिसीजन।
ओके, थैंक यू वेरी मच सर।
मोस्ट वेलकम।
नाइस सेशन।
थैंक यू सर, माय प्लेजर सर।
Any more questions?
Any more questions?
I think everybody have finished, and it was a very well chosen topic, and it was very well explained, Nitin sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thoroughly enjoyed your thing. May I request our Rotarian Mitul Makwana to go ahead with the vote of thanks?
Yes. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. Honorable President and Secretary and all seniors along with the Rotarians present, it is a privilege to have been asked to propose a vote of thanks today. I, Rotarian Mitul Makwana, on behalf of Rotary Club of Mira Road, extend a very hearty vote of thanks to Speaker Captain Nitin Joshi for gracing your important work and sharing with us your valuable time. I personally liked it and I hope everyone enjoyed it. And I expect that we see Captain Nitin Joshi once again. All right. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.